Welcome back to the channel, rum fans. Today is part 2 of my English spirit distillery rum chats, if you like. Today, I'm talking about St Pirans White Rum. Now, before we go any further, I do want to make one thing very, very clear. This is going to be very biased. This is St Piran, the patron saint of Cornwall. The 5th of March is our big national day. You know, not Paddy's Day, St Patrick's Day, not St David's Day, none of that. Not St Andrew's Day, George's Day, none of that. The 5th of March is the day you need in your calendar. It's Cornwall Day, Pasty Day. St Piran, the patron saint of Cornwall. So this is Cornish rum. I will try and give you an unbiased opinion of this if I can. I will give you an unbiased because there's plenty of other Cornish distilleries down there. But so this will be complete. I'm just having a bit of banter, a bit of, you know me, I like my banter, don't I? So if you want to know my sort of knowledge of English spirit distillery, go and check out the previous video, last week's video, where I talked about old salt rum. That, to my knowledge, that is the very first rum distilled in the British Isles. As I say, I didn't really know where that was distilled, whether it was up here. They've got two. They've got whether it is up here near me or whether it was down in Cornwall. But this one, I'm assuming, is very much distilled in Cornwall, because it would make absolutely no sense to distill it here. And then the secret weapon in this is that it's cut back with their Cornish water. And Cornish water, and again, this will sound patriotic, but I promise you it's not. And anyone that's been to Cornwall will kind of understand this as well. And there's places around the UK as well that kind of this. Where I am here in Cambridge, the water is so flipping hard. You know, you get the limescale build up on kettles and around tap. It's just horrendous. You know, sometimes, not a million miles away from me, about 5-6 miles down the road here, you know, you really struggle to drink water out of the tap. It's that bad. It's not terrible, don't get me wrong, but taste wise, it's nothing compared to Cornish water. If you go down, I used to liken it when I used to shave, you know, the water just kind of bubbles up in your hand. It's so soft. And it drifts. And chatting to Scottish distillers as well, you know, the Scottish water is completely different to down here. So the water that you're cutting back your spirit from 70, 80, 90% ABV, probably more like 80s to be fair, but, you know, cutting that back, the water, it makes up a huge component of the rum. So this is the secret weapon in this, like other Cornish rums. This is cut back with Cornish water. So I would naturally assume this is distilled in Cornwall. Now, just to give you a couple of other facts, you know, as I said in the previous video, I don't have too many facts about it. I haven't spoken to distillery as yet. I haven't been to see Dr. John. I will do. I will go and sort of spend some time with him because I'm really fascinated. But again, 50 cl bottle, and I know some people are going to wince at that. I kind of had a rant about that in the first video, but £38 for direct from them for a 50 cl bottle. I personally love 50 cl bottles. As I said, go and watch that previous video. I will kind of explain why. Now, I also want to preface this before I go any further. I love and adore rum off the still. White unaged rum. I do. It is a nonsense to think that you cannot drink white or lightly aged rum, 6-month-old rum, even a year-old rum. That is a nonsense. Back in the day, I dare say that was the case, and that's hence why you've got 12-year-old rums and 14-year-old rums, because rums kind of needed that age to round them off. Now, I dare say white and aged rums is not to everyone's palate. It's still going to have a huge market. Of course there is. Of course people are still going to love Dawley's 14 and Dawley's 12 and Eldorado 15 and Eldorado 12. Of course they are. You know, there is a palate for those. But for all you people like me that are so inquisitive about what distillers have at their disposal these days, so many different yeast strains available, so many different types of, well, grades of molasses, if you like. But, you know, when you blend with that yeast with your molasses and your different water and the still, you know, we've got some cracking new stills compared to, you know, let's be honest here, Eldorado still, and this is not a dig at Eldorado at all, because they produce some phenomenal liquid off there, but, you know, those stills are centuries old. Yes, they've been, however you kind of touched up, is that the right word? You know, fixed with bits of new wood here and there, you know, they're wooden stills, but they're predominantly years and years old. Some of these are like brand new copper stills. They are designed to get the best out of rum. There's you've already seen one that's got a Serbian still, which is kind of a hybrid still, but it's been designed to get the best flavour possible out of a rum. Whereas these old stills are kind of just stills, but they do the job, don't get me wrong. So the newer distiller, no matter whether you're in the British Isles or around the world, the newer distiller, you've got access to so many different new technologies, different ferments, different yeast strains. You know, there is just a whole world of new age rum out there, and that's what I love. That's what I'm all about, let alone all the cane varieties. God, I hadn't even gone down the sugar cane varieties that creates different kind of molasses. So for people like me, that's why I get excited about it, because there is this whole, and in Britain, it's easy for me to get access to this. I dare say around the Caribbean, there are places doing this as well. You know, in Australia and Fiji, in India, you know, in Africa, you know, the places all around the world experiment. It's just that we've got easy access to it in the UK, and there are an abundance of UK British distillers. So that's why I get passionate about British rum. Now, I'm going to just say this straight. I'm going to absolutely say this straight. If some of you can't drink this white rum neat, there is something wrong with it. This is absolutely flipping delicious. Again, I wouldn't say it's pot still forward, and again, that's Dr. John's traits, as you know, copper pot stills. He likes to do it properly. I wouldn't say it's as a pot still forward as Richard at Retribution, but there is no mistaking that for a pot still. And it's got those lovely vibes, lovely creamy, buttery finish to it. I wait for the taste before I wait for the aroma. I'll come back to the aroma in a minute, but it's this vanilla-y kind of long. Oh, it's not as long finish. It's a completely different finish to what the old salt is. You know, that was kind of treacle. This is buttery, creamy, vanilla-y, but still light. What interests me about this, I still get those raisins, those juicy raisins and caramel off that white rum. And that is can only be down to the yeast and the ferment of that molasses, because that tastes flipping delicious. Again, there's no alcohol, ethanol bite to that. This is interesting to me, because this does taste a little bit sweeter than what that does. And I would expect that to be the other way around. But it's throwing me what to give this a score, because I haven't tasted anything to put it up against. I'm maybe going to give this a 5 or 6 out of 20 on a sweetness scale. Or would preface that, Bumboos, Dom Papas, 16, 17, 18s out of 20. Your Plantation XO, 10 to 12 out of 20. So I don't think that's as sweet as like your Plantation XO. But it has got this rounded, luxurious, voluptuous kind of mouthfeel to it. Really, and that creaminess, that buttercream is kind of, it's not what I'm going for. There's kind of it's a different creamy kind of texture, and I can't pick it. I just automatically default to buttery when I kind of get that mouthfeel, but I don't think it is. It's kind of something a little bit different. Do you know what? Actually, when you come to smell it, I know I've gone back to front, but when you come to smell this, there is a little hint of coconut on there. And but there's a weird kind of tasting note that I've got off there, which I actually quite like. The very first sip, not when it hits the back of your throat or anything, the very first sip, the front of your tongue, I get a little bit of anise. Just a little bit of anise. It disappears very, very quickly. But that coconut has kind of got me. Am I thinking like coconutty milk, coconut puree? You get blocks of coconut. Do you get blocks of coconut cream? Cream of coconut. Oh, that's potentially what that is. There is a big, healthy sort of. Don't mistake this for a coconut rum, but you know when you kind of have sort of a Barbados rum or you know, out that way, you get that little subtle hint of coconut. That's kind of what I get of this. But I tell you, even on the aroma, that anise is there. I'm sorry if no one else gets that, but that's the beauty of tasting notes, isn't it? Everyone's palate is different. But the anise is kind of there, and that's really fascinating. So look, let's get down to business. Finish, stunning. medium actually. I've changed that from shortish to a medium. It's not as long as that, but then the burnt, or sorry, the what's the word, the treacly kind of vibe that I get off that does linger for ages. This does linger quite healthily. Very different profile. I get everyone's palate is different. I totally and utterly get it. But when people say to me, there's no character in white rums, I don't like white rums, you know, it needs a bit of wood finishing and all that. It does bemuse me, because I cannot comprehend why you wouldn't like that. I just cannot comprehend it. But and to use this reference, and I kind of feel so. I'm just going to name drop G then, but I'm name drop Karen for a second. My membership community, Karen, I think you would adore this. Connor, here's another one. Connor, if I get my kind of facts around the right way. Right, for me, this isn't a daiquiri rum. This is a neat sipping rum. I want something a bit lighter, and I think you're flip opposite to me. I think, Connor, I think you would love this and adore this as a daiquiri rum. So those of you that have kind of listened and seen what Connor said about white rums, and he's gone down it, I think this is probably more of your kind of daiquiri rum than it is mine. I love this neat. Karen, I'm gonna put it out there, Karen. I think you're going to absolutely adore this. I think this is properly up your street. Knowing that some of the white rums that you have tasted and love, I think you are going to absolutely adore this. And G, where I was going to name drop G, and this is, you know, this is going back to why I can't comprehend people that can't sip white rums. It's because, you know, I understand there's always two sides to an argument, because G, Geraint, you know, we probably can't understand why a lot of us don't like agricole, or don't give agricole the time of day. And that's the beautiful thing. Everyone's got a different palate. Everyone's got a different love, a passion. G's passion is agricole, sugarcane juice. I think my passion is just kind of, it was column still, but I think my passion is actually pot still, unaged. I think the more I go down this journey, the more I really do love this. And I'm pretty damn certain, you know, I'm 99.9% sure that is not just that aged up. I'm pretty sure, because I think that's made up in Cambridgeshire, or Suffolk, I should say, Great Yeldham. I'm pretty sure that's down in Cornwall. I think they're probably two different distillates, two different yeast strains, two different ferments. So don't look at that as just purely that's aged up. I'm pretty confident in that. But yeah, I know the price is going to be a stumbling block. £38 for a 50cl. I get it. But flip me, this is delicious. And you know what? I was going to finish the video right there. But if ever I had a rum and coke rum, a white, I like my dark rums with cola, Pepsi Cola. But if ever I was going to pick a white rum to go with coke, I think this is it. I really do think this is it. It's not one for this video. That's not what these videos are about. But, I mean, people are going to love this as a daiquiri. They are. As I say, for me, a daiquiri is column still, light, clean, crisp. Not so much buttery, not so much creamy, just light, crisp. That's why I went from a daiquiri. But this is going to have a lot of daiquiri fans. This is very, very different to any white rum that I've had from the British Isles. Nearly said the UK, in the British Isles. I still think Richard's Retribution, as a neat sipper for me, edges it. But Jesus, I really enjoy this.